What's good, everybody? It's the Clown with Cap Show. NFL Week 15, some big games, no more buys. We're so close to the playoffs, I cannot wait. Let's start with the Thursday night game, the LA Rams versus the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers are 3-point favorites. That's interesting to me, even though the 49ers have been banged up all year. McCaffrey's out. It's just been a terrible year for San Francisco. I'm going with the Rams here. I'm really surprised the 49ers are favorite. I think so because they're at home, but right now I'm going with the Rams. Sean McVay and the Rams are playing good. They always play good the second half of the season when they get that push into the playoffs. And I think if the Rams do win out, which I do think is going to happen, they're going to get in. And they're going to be a scary, scary team when they're in the playoffs. You got Puka Nacua, who's got 3 touchdowns this year. You got Cooper Kupp, who's got 6 touchdowns. You got Kyren Williams, who's got 12 touchdowns, over 1,000 yards rushing. And then you got Stafford, 19 touchdowns, 7 picks this year. So I look for the Rams to just really win right here. Even though this is a rivalry type of game, division game, but I'm going with the Rams. I'm rolling with the Rams because they're playing better football right now. And we look at the 49ers, like I said, all the injuries. McCaffrey's out. Deebo Samuel's had a down year this year. Fumbled the ball a couple games ago. Just a really down year. And then you have Purdy, 15 touchdowns, 8 picks. Purdy's been banged up as well. It's one of those years for the 49ers where you look back and say, what happened? What went wrong? Going all the way back to the Super Bowl. You guys had opportunities to win the Super Bowl. You came up short against the Kansas City Chiefs, and it is what it is. And then we fast forward to this year. Now you're out of the playoffs. It's just the highs of the highs and the lowest of the lows. And right now they continue to hit that low. So it just sucked for San Francisco. But we look at that. Kittle, one of the best tight ends in the NFL, 800 yards receiving and 8 touchdowns. Look for Kittle to get active tonight. Look for Kittle anytime touchdown. I like that bet as well. I like Kittle anytime, and I like Kyren Williams anytime touchdowns tonight for the Thursday night. But I'm going with the Rams. I'm rolling with them. 49.5 is the over-under. That's tricky. I think the under can hit. I think, the Rams can put up 28, to whereas the 49ers will put up around maybe 20 at tops. So it's going to hit just in the under. So I like the under in this bet, but I like the LA Rams in San Francisco to get the dub on Thursday Night Football. Let's go. And then we got Sunday games, the 1 o'clock slates. My Indianapolis Colts going to Denver. This is actually a 4 o'clock slate, but Denver's 4-point favorites. That's interesting, right? We look at the Colts. Both teams are coming off bye week. So I'm looking at the Colts. Anthony Richardson. You have 7 touchdowns, 9 picks. It's been a really roller coaster ride for Anthony Richardson from the tap on the helmet to, hey, give me a timeout to, being benched and then Joe Flacco coming in. Just a lot of highs and lows for the Indianapolis Colts. But right now, I think the Colts can flip the script here. If the Colts do win out, we're going to get into the wild card game. But how far can the Indianapolis Colts go in the playoffs? Let's be realistic here. Even if they do win the wild card game, it's one of them things where you're going to get matched up against the Baltimore Ravens. You guys are going to beat them with Derrick Henry, Lamar in the playoffs in Baltimore. That's just not going to happen. So I do think the Colts can win this game. And in fact, I'm going to go with my Colts in Denver. Even though Denver has a great defense, top 3 defenses in the NFL, I think this is a legacy game for Anthony Richardson. I think Anthony Richardson has the potential to have a career game right now. This is the time to do it if you're Anthony Richardson. 0 interceptions. I want long, sustaining drives. I want you to throw the ball down the field, to Pierce, to whoever it is, to Josh Downs. And I think Jonathan Taylor needs to get that run game back. Only 5 rushing touchdowns this year. I look at, Jonathan Taylor is one of the best running backs in the league, but the past couple years have been shaky. Ever since he got the bag, $40 million? A 3-year deal, something like that. But I think the Colts really need to get the momentum here and really get back on the win column. And I do think in Denver, it makes sense that my Indianapolis Colts will go into Denver and handle business. Even though Denver has a great defense, Bo Nix, 17 touchdowns, 8 interceptions for that rookie, even though he's like a 25-year-old rookie. Pretty crazy, right? But, Sean Payton is a future Hall of Famer coach. He's going to come up with some schemes, but I think this game is going to be super tight, super close, really, really tight. But I like the Colts, man. I do. I think Jonathan Taylor is going to be the difference maker here. Him and Anthony Richardson, those 2 guys, the best players on the Indianapolis Colts. So step up. So I want to see Anthony Richardson throw a couple tutties, maybe even rush for a touchdown. But I like my Colts 28 to 20. That's how I like my Colts winning this game. And that over would hit in that. So let me go with the over, and I love my Indianapolis Colts going into Denver and in that altitude to get the big win. And Anthony Richardson's going to have a turnover-free game this game. Let's go! And then we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the LA Chargers. The Chargers are 3-point favorites. This is another sweaty type of game. But honestly, I'm going to go Bucs here. I think Baker Mayfield is a better quarterback than Herbert. I think they have a better team overall than the Chargers. Nothing to take away from Harbaugh and what he's done this year with Herbert. I mean, Herbert's had a great year. 14 touchdowns, 1 pick. You got the rookie lad out of Georgia. He's got 4 touchdowns, 815 yards receiving. So, they have a great offense, but let me go Bucs here. Baker, 28 touchdowns this year, just balling out. Bucky, their rookie running back, is questionable. They got Rashad White, so I'm not worried about that. Mike Evans, 7 touchdowns, 590 yards receiving. So I'm looking at Mike Evans to have a Mike Evans type of game. Over 100 yards receiving and a touchdown at least in this game to get the win. So let me go Tampa Bay going into L.A. I think it's going to be a nail-biter. But let me go with the over as well. 45.5 is the over-under. I'll go with the over. But let me go the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going into L.A. and getting the big win because of Baker and Mike Evans. And then we got the Baltimore Ravens versus the New York Giants. The Ravens are 16-point favorites. That is pretty crazy to me, right? Even though, the Giants season is over with. They traded Daniel Jones. They've been banged up at quarterback. I feel bad for Neighbors, the rookie out of LSU. He's got 3 touchdowns this year, 819 yards receiving, but really no quarterback. Obviously, I'm going to go Ravens here, but I like the money line here. I think 16 is too much. Even if they do win by 14 plus, your bet doesn't hit. So even though, the Ravens should run right through them, you got Derrick Henry just balling out this year, just doing what Derrick Henry does. You know what I'm saying? And then, obviously, Lamar Jackson, the number 1 quarterback in fantasy, is just balling out this year. 29 touchdowns, only 3 picks. He also has 3 rushing touchdowns. Zay Flowers, his boy, 863 yards receiving and 4 touchdowns. So let me go the Ravens here. I think the Ravens roll all day in this matchup. I love Lamar, man. I think Lamar's going to have a typical Lamar game. 30-plus fantasy points for Lamar, maybe even 40. So he went for 40-plus in like 3 or 4 games this year. I hope this is the week, man. This is the playoffs in fantasy. So my nerves are a little bad right now, and I got Lamar. So I feel like, man, I'm confident, but then I'm not at the same time, man. This is the playoffs. It's all or nothing. Everything we work for, all the draft, all the fantasy drafts, all the schemes comes down to this week. This is the first week of the playoffs for fantasy. So I'm a little a little on edge right now. So let me go Lamar right now, and Lamar anytime touchdown, and I'll take the Ravens money line all day in this matchup. 42.5 is the over-under. Probably lean more towards the under, but I definitely like the Ravens to roll in a really sloppy type of game. But let me go Baltimore Ravens over the New York Giants. And then we got the New York Jets versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. Both teams are trash. Both teams will not make the playoffs this year. We look at the Jets. What another disappointing season. They signed Aaron Rodgers last year for a 2-year deal. Aaron Rodgers goes down the first 4 games last year. Achilles tear. Then this year just doesn't look the same. He doesn't. I think Aaron Rodgers, realistically, he's done. It's over with. There's no coming back from this. Aaron Rodgers, 20 touchdowns, 8 picks. I mean, had a heck of a career. You won a Super Bowl. You did a lot of good things in Green Bay. But I think overall, man, it's not working in New York right now. And then Breece Hall, just 4 touchdowns. Really quiet year for Breece Hall. All the fantasy managers this year going in was Breece Hall's a top 5 pick. Top 10 pick in the drafts. And I'm just like, yo, pump your brakes. Breece Hall is not like that, dude. And it's showing right now. And my point is being proven right now. Breece Hall has 4 touchdowns all year this year. That's terrible. So, if you're going to draft him in the first round, a first-round running back, only 4 tutties this year, man, that is just crazy. David Montgomery slipped, and he's got 12 touchdowns this year. Make it make sense, right? But, we look at the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're done. Trevor Lawrence on IR, concussion. He's done. They're starting Mac Jones, who's trash. And then you got Brian Thomas Jr., 851 yards receiving and 6 touchdowns for the Jacksonville Jaguars. But honestly, in this matchup, it's a coin flip. I really don't know who's going to win. Both teams are trash, but like I said, they're both irrelevant. They're not going to make the playoffs. They don't matter. So, let me just go on the limb and go Jets right here just because they're favorites, but I really don't care about this game at all. And then we got the Dallas Cowboys versus the Carolina Panthers, two trash teams as well. This is the first time Carolina's been favored since 2022, or maybe even 2021. It's been years. It's been years since the Carolina Panthers have been favored, but they're favored right now. So, that's pretty crazy in itself. But, let me go. We'll roll with the favorites. Let me go Carolina at 3. Bryce Young, 7 touchdowns, 7 picks this year. Chuba Hubbard, over 1,000 yards of rushing, 8 tutties. Leggett has 4 touchdowns. CeeDee Lamb has 5 touchdowns. But I look at the Dallas Cowboys and realize, yeah, you guys are prima donnas. You guys just want to be in the spotlight. You guys just want to be famous so bad. That's all you want to be, is just famous, dude. Like, that's it. You don't want to win Super Bowls. You don't want to do this and that, TV deals. You just want to be famous. That's it, dude. Like, that's all the Cowboys want to do. It's just funny to me. So let me go Carolina Panthers, man. Dallas Cowboys season is over. Jerry Jones is stupid, dude. Jerry Jones has sell the organization. Like, bro, like, you're like 95 now. Like, dude, just get out of there, please, dude. Like, the Cowboys, save yourself a breath. Let me go Carolina Panthers at 3. 43.5 is the over-under. Yeah, that's tricky, man. That is super tricky. I'll probably go with the over just because it's kind of low right now. But let me go Carolina at 3 over the trash Dallas Cowboys. And then we got the Washington Commanders versus the New Orleans Saints. Washington Commanders are 7.5-point favorites. This makes sense. Let me go Washington. Coming off a bye week. Jaden Daniels, 15 touchdowns, 6 picks this year. I mean, great for a rookie. Coming in hot. Coming in kind of like how RG3 came in back in 2012, 2013. So, that's great. Brian Thomas Jr., 8 touchdowns this year. Terry McLaurin, 9 touchdowns, almost 900 yards receiving. So Washington Commanders are rolling. Washington Commanders are going to be a threat in the playoffs this year. They're going to get in a wild card game at least. So, nobody wants to see Washington because they can put up points. And we've seen that all year because of Jaden Daniels and that offensive line in Washington. So it's amazing. The Saints is just another down year. Derek Carr's been banged up. He can never stay healthy. That's why the Raiders released him. Alvin Kamara, 6 touchdowns, 938 yards rushing. But that's really all the talent. I mean, yeah, they got Taysom Hill. They have some star players on the New Orleans Saints, but they're just falling apart, man. They just really have. Let me go Washington at 7.5 because of Jaden Daniels and what he's doing there. Just changing that culture in Washington. I love it, man. So I'm going to take Washington at 7.5. 43.5 is the over-under. I'll go with the over. I think Washington Commanders put up 30-plus on the New Orleans Saints. And then we got the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Tennessee Titans. The Bengals are 5-point favorites. And obviously, I'm going Bengals here. Joe Burrow's had a heck of a year this year, 33 touchdowns, 6 picks, and they could win out and get in the playoffs this year. And it sucks for Joe Burrow, just he's not getting the right calls on the field. A lot of face masks not being called, late hits. And coming to think about it, somebody, they were saying that Joe Burrow's home got burglarized on the Monday Night Football game. Just, what could go wrong can go wrong, right? Just when shit hit the fan, shit's going to hit the fan. Joe Burrow, he's going to recover from that. Hopefully he didn't have $1 million worth of jewelry in his house, that got stolen. But Joe Burrow, man, it's had a heck of a season this season. Chase Brown, 6 touchdowns, 735 yards rushing. Jamar Chase, over 1,300 yards receiving and 15 touchdowns. Jamar Chase has been eating. Jamar Chase has really proven a point to the Cincinnati Bengals organization and say, hey, pay me or I'm going to leave this year. Like, what's it going to be? And we already know Joe Burrow said he cannot envision himself playing without Jamar Chase. They played in college together. They've been boys since day one. So, pay him the money. Jamar Chase is worth every bit. We could argue that Jamar Chase is better than Justin Jefferson right now, or at least, stat-wise right now, that's saying he's better. So, Jamar Chase deserves to get paid. So I'm going Bengals. Tennessee Titans are trash. Will Levis is mediocre at best. 12 touchdowns, 9 picks. But let me go Cincinnati Bengals, man. They're clicking at the right time. And the Bengals secondary tends to get a little better, but they're going to have to get a little bit more better if they're going to want to make a playoff push and make a deep run in the playoffs and ultimately go to the Super Bowl like they did a couple years ago when they lost to the Rams. So I just think Joe Burrow right now, he's locked in. 33 touchdowns, just straight balling. Let me go Bengals at 5. 46.5 is the over-under. That's tough, man. That is super tough. I won't even touch the over-unders. But let me go the Bengals at 5 all day in this matchup. And then we got Kansas City Chiefs going into the Cleveland Browns. Kansas City's 4.5-point favorites. let's pump our brakes here and just say, oh, Kansas City right away. Well, we look at the Cleveland Browns. They've upset some teams this year. You know, they beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. They beat the Baltimore Ravens. So, can they beat the Kansas City Chiefs? Yes. Kansas City finds a way to win, even though Mahomes hasn't had the best season yet. You know, they've just been getting by, scraping by, inch by inch. But, hey, that's what championship teams do. They find a way to win no matter what. Whether it's a blocked field goal, game-winning field goal, whatever the case may be, the Kansas City Chiefs find a way to win, and that's what they do. Patrick Mahomes, 20 touchdowns, 11 picks this year. You got Travis Kelce, 2 tutties. You know, Jameis Winston, 13 touchdowns, 9 picks. He'll give you, you know, almost the same stat, right? 13 and 9. It's just Jameis loves to throw picks. You know, Jerry Jeudy, straight baller, 944 yards receiving and 4 touchdowns. You know, finally caught on later on in the season. But, you know, ultimately, you know, I want to go Cleveland with the upset, but I'm going to go Kansas City here. You know, Kansas City always finds the way to win. They're 12-1 for a reason. They're looking to be the first team to ever three-peat in NFL history. So, history in itself, I think Kansas City is a huge threat, even though they're not playing great, even though they're not putting pressure on quarterbacks. I do think if they do not put pressure on Jameis Winston, I do think Winston could just out here just straight ball out. 2+ touchdowns at least. So 43.5 is the over-under. I'll go with the over in this matchup. I think it's going to hit the over unless it's like snowing in Cleveland or something like that. But let me go Kansas City, man. Like I said, they find a way to win. They're looking to three-peat this year. The first team to ever do it if they succeed with Patrick Mahomes and company. So take off Kansas City Chiefs. Let's go! And then we got the Miami Dolphins versus the Houston Texans. The Texans are 3-point favorites. You know, let me go out on a limb and go with the upset here. Let me go Miami. You know, Miami's looking nice. Tua's looking locked in. 17 touchdowns, 4 picks. A-Chain, 600 yards rushing and 4 touchdowns. Tyreek Hill, 5 touchdowns. You know, even though C.J. Stroud and the Houston Texans have had a great year, they're coming off a bye week. But really, the past month and a half, they have not looked the same since they started the first month of the season. They just haven't. They've been out of sync. I don't know what it is. C.J. Stroud, 15 touchdowns, 9 picks. Joe Mixon, straight baller. 11 touchdowns this year. He's a top 5 fantasy running back. So next year going in, Joe Mixon should be in the top 2 rounds. Absolutely. Joe Mixon is a dog. Nico Collins, 4 touchdowns, 832 yards receiving. I just like Miami right now. They're playing better football than the Houston Texans. That's why ultimately I'm going with the Miami Dolphins. I'm going with Tua. I'm going with all their speed they have. You know, Waddle, Jonnu Smith, who I picked off waivers, having a heck of a year for that tight end. So let me go Miami in a close nail-biter over the Houston Texans. 46.5 is the over-under. You would think the over would hit, right? Yeah, I mean, that would make sense. Both quarterbacks love to throw. CJ and Tua love to throw the ball down the field. They're pass-heavy typically, even though they do have Joe Mixon and company. But let me go Miami with the upset here. Miami's going to win by a game-winning field goal over the Houston Texans in a nail-biter. I cannot wait for that matchup. And then we got the New England Patriots versus the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals are 6-point favorites. I picked Arizona last week to win over Seattle. I was way wrong on that pick. But I'm going to go Arizona at 6 in this matchup. We look at the Patriots. They're out of the playoffs. They don't even have a shot to make it, whereas Arizona does. Arizona still has an opportunity to make the playoffs and sneak in. So Kyler Murray, 15 touchdowns, 8 picks. James Conner, 5 touchdowns. You know, Drake May, he's got 11 touchdowns, 8 picks. Stevenson, 6 touchdowns for the Patriots. But let me go Arizona here. I think Arizona comes out hungry. You're playing at home again. This is the game to win. Go back 7-7 and try to win the rest of your games out to get in the playoff spot. That's your only hope for Arizona. So I'll take Arizona 6 over the trash New England Patriots. And then we got the best game all weekend, the Buffalo Bills versus the Detroit Lions. The Lions are 2.5-point favorites. This is going to be a nail-biter. This is a coin flip type of game. I can see the Buffalo Bills winning if Josh Allen performs like he did last week and with 6 touchdowns. Absolutely. We saw Detroit Lions lose at home to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this year. So, you know, I think they're on upset alert right now. However, am I going to bet against the Detroit Lions? Some of their defenders are coming back. I don't think they're going to miss everybody. But, however, if the Lions defense is banged up, you know, I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills. You know, right now, what I'm seeing from Josh Allen. But, however, if I do have a gun to my head, I'm going to go Detroit Lions. They're just the better team right now. Detroit Lions are the best team in the NFL. That duo running back Gibbs and Montgomery combined for 22 touchdowns apiece. So, you know, 22 touchdowns total combined out of Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. That's just lethal. And then you got St. Brown, 9 touchdowns. You know, you just have so many weapons on offense for the Detroit Lions. You got Jared Goff, 25 touchdowns, 10 picks. Even though Jared Goff does typically throw some interceptions from time to time. We saw that in the Houston Texans game. He threw for 5. We saw it a couple games ago through an interception. So I think at the Buffalo Bills, the kryptonite to beat them is to have Jared Goff. Put pressure on Jared Goff. Make Jared Goff throw picks. That's how you beat the Detroit Lions, is by minimizing their drives, minimizing their possessions. So Josh Allen, he could do that. Josh Allen this year, 23 touchdowns, 5 picks. James Cook, 11 touchdowns. Their safety, Taylor Rapp, is questionable, which is huge. If he does not play, I love the Detroit Lions. If he plays, I could see Buffalo Bills squeaking by with the upset here. You know, this game is the best game all weekend. I cannot wait for this game. It's a coin flip type of game, but right now I'm leaning more towards the Detroit Lions, just what I've seen all year this year. You know, and I think they're going to run through the Buffalo Bills defense. I really do. So give me Detroit at 2.5, even though I might change my bet leading up to this game. I can't wait for this game, man. This is a primetime game, 4 o'clock slate. I cannot wait. Shout out to Dan Campbell, man. Becoming my favorite coach this year, man. He goes for it on 4th down, plays like he's playing in Madden. I love it, man. So let me go Detroit slightly right now over the Buffalo Bills. And then we got the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Philly is 5.5-point favorites. This is another nail-biter type of game. I'm going to go Philly, even though I don't like that, though. You know, we look at Jalen Hurts this year. Yes, you have Saquon Barkley, the best running back in the NFL, over 1,600 yards rushing and 11 touchdowns. Jalen Hurts, 16 touchdowns and 5 picks. However, A.J. Brown, he was talking this week saying, hey, we need to work on our passing. Basically sending shots at Jalen Hurts saying, bro, you had 4 attempts to me this last game against Carolina. 4. You threw it to me 4 times. You know, week 1, you threw it to me 10 times. Ever since week 1, those numbers have dropped. So I kind of feel for A.J. Brown. If the Philadelphia Eagles want to win a Super Bowl, they're not going to do it how they're playing right now, because they're going to match up against an elite team that's going to stack the box and make Jalen Hurts beat them and not Saquon Barkley. You know, everybody, Saquon is an elite running back. He's one of the best running backs, if not the best running back right now in the NFL, him and Derrick Henry. So when you have an elite team going against the Philadelphia Eagles, you're going to say, okay, we're going to double, triple team Saquon and make Jalen Hurts throw the ball and beat us in the pocket. You know, not extend the play, not Jalen Hurts throwing it out. And we look at Jalen Hurts this year. He hasn't had a great passing year this year. Even though he's had Saquon, I get it. Philadelphia Eagle fans are just excited right now, but it's like, if you guys really think you're going to win a Super Bowl playing like you are right now, that's not going to happen. You're squeaking by Carolina Panthers here. Like, that's not going to happen, dude. Jalen Hurts does not look good. He looks like an average quarterback at best that has the best running back behind him in the NFL. That's saving him with a great offensive line. So I'm not really sold on Philly right now. And in fact, I'm going to change it. I'm going to go Pittsburgh over the Philadelphia Eagles right now. I just think right now, Philly, man, they don't have a good passing game, and A.J. Brown is right. Everybody's calling him a diva, but it's like, facts are facts here. Jalen Hurts does not look like the same quarterback in the pocket. He doesn't look like a pocket passer, and to win a Super Bowl, you're going to have all 3 cylinders, pocket passer, extending the play, and also running. So I just think right now, Russell Wilson, man, he's locked in, 12 touchdowns, 3 picks. George Pickens, 3 picks. I think the defenses play similar styles. Pittsburgh and Philly have a very similar style defense, but overall, what I've seen from Philly is a great run game, terrible passing game. So let me go the Pittsburgh Steelers with the upset over the Philadelphia Eagles in Philly. I can't wait for this matchup. And then we got the Green Bay Packers versus the Seattle Seahawks on Sunday Night Football. Jordan Love, 21 touchdowns, 11 picks this year. You know, everybody's high in praise on Green Bay. Josh Jacobs, over 1,000 yards rushing and 11 tutties. Jaden Reed, 6 touchdowns. Even though Jaden Reed put up 0 fantasy points last week, I expect a big turnaround. I expect Green Bay to turn it around. I like Green Bay right now in Seattle. Geno Smith, 14 touchdowns, 12 picks. You know, Walker, 7 touchdowns. Smith and Jigba has 5 touchdowns, over 900 yards receiving. I do think Seattle could beat Green Bay by putting pressure on Jordan Love, forcing him to make bad decisions, forcing him to throw the ball in double coverage every time. So I think Jordan Love this year, I just think a lot of the times he always tries to hit the home run ball. It's like, bro, you cannot hit the home run every single play in the NFL. Sometimes you just got to pump the brakes and slow the roll, but I still like Green Bay in Seattle. I think this is a nail-biter, though. I think it's super close. I wouldn't even be surprised if Green Bay does lose this game. And this happened over a decade ago where Green Bay went into Seattle where Russell Wilson was extending the play with like 0 seconds on the clock. He basically threw up a Hail Mary. and it looked like Green Bay picked it off, but the receiver ended up like fighting it, and they called it a touchdown. There was a lot of controversy. This happened over 10 years ago. This was a crazy. I think it's going to be another crazy type of game like it was over 10 years ago. So I can't wait for that matchup on Sunday Night Football. I'm still going to roll with the Green Bay Packers. Go, Pack, go. I know Lil Wayne would be happy. Shout out to the Weezy F, baby, the greatest rapper of all time. But I like Green Bay. And then we got 2 Monday Night Football games. We first Monday Night Football game, we got the Bears versus the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings are 7-point favorites. Obviously, I'm going to go Vikings here. They look like a hot team right now. Sam Darnold is just locked in. 28 touchdowns, 10 picks. Justin Jefferson over 1,100 yards receiving and 7 touchdowns. Jordan Addison has 7 touchdowns. Then you got Caleb Williams, who's had a shaked up, banged up year. 16 touchdowns, 5 picks. DJ Moore has 5 touchdowns. But I like, what I've seen from Minnesota right now. They've been playing really great, but can they beat Detroit in the playoffs? Can they run deep in the playoffs this year? I don't think so, but they definitely have the talent to do it. Sam Darnold is looking great right now because he has one of the best receivers in the NFL, and Justin Jefferson. So it's like, dude, come on, bro. You got one of the best receivers in the league. So, let's give him some respect to Justin Jefferson. But I'm going to go Minnesota. I'll take the 7 points on Monday Night Football. 43.5 is the over-under. Probably go with the over. What I've seen, from Minnesota the past couple weeks, Sam Darnold's locked in, throwing the ball down the field to Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson, just locked in. So let me go Minnesota over the trash Chicago Bears. And then we got the Atlanta Falcons versus the Las Vegas Raiders. Atlanta Falcons, 4-point favorites. Man, it sucks for Atlanta, man. Kirk Cousins, like I said, you guys gave him a whole bag, and he's not worth that bag. He's just not. He's got 17 touchdowns with 15 interceptions. So it's almost the same ratio, touchdown pick ratio. Pretty crazy. And then you got Bijan Robinson, 8 touchdowns this year. Mooney, he's got 5 touchdowns. Brock Bowers, the rookie tight end on the Raiders, has 4 touchdowns, 933 yards receiving as a rookie. Straight balling out. Shout out to Brock Bowers, a Georgia boy. But let me go Atlanta here. I'll take the 4 points. I think Kirk Cousins turns it around. You have too much talent. You got Drake London. You got Mooney. You got Bijan Robinson, one of the best running backs in the league. Probably a top 5 running back. So let me go Atlanta on Monday night. I'll take the 4-point spread. I'll take that all day in this matchup. But what a week 15 for the NFL. The best game all weekend is by far the Buffalo Bills going into Detroit. And that's going to be a nail biter. I cannot wait. And then Pittsburgh versus Philly. The 4 o'clock slate games are crazy this weekend. I cannot wait. But the Thursday night game, give me the LA Rams, Sean McVay. You heard it from Cap, no Cap. It's the Clownwood Cap Show. Let's go!